And I was teaching some kids, and not kids but youth, and we had a good vibe. We done some music for 6 weeks. We vibed about a Windrush project. Big up my partner Chaz, big up Darren, big up the whole team that's facilitated what I've done. And these Andre, Toby, Brian, Howard Sway, all the massive, you know what I'm saying? And yeah, I'm just gonna make them perform, man. Let the music do the talking. Let's have liquor vibes. But I want to big up the next guy that's coming up. This is a rapper. We trained him. And I'm saying we've been doing some work with him. His name's Six Smoke, man. Make some noise for Six Smoke. I said make some noise for Six Smoke.
How's it going, Ramsgate Music Hub?
Yeah.
Come on, louder, you can do it! That's a bit better, we'll try that again later. I appreciate you all for coming out. Alright, big up Chaz, big up Taz, honestly, big up everyone that held out throughout this whole Wisdom project. You've helped me out so much, and I cannot thank you enough. So can I have one round of applause for them? Thank you. Alright, thank you. Alright, DJ, let's go. This song's called Explanation. I hope you all like it.
If you leave me, babe, I'll be the one to blame. I'll be the one to blame. The song is a day and it broke my heart. I knew leaving you, girl, wouldn't be smart. I regret it so much, I wanna change the past. I can only feel pain, yeah, it hurts my heart. I did it for a reason, I wanna stop breathing. I didn't want you having that same shitty feeling. I want a straight head, and I want you in my bed. But life's harsh, yeah baby, I'm still healing. I'm sorry that it had to end the way that it did. In my heart I didn't want it to, please, please forgive. I know you probably think, yeah, I'm a total dick, and I'd agree with that. Cause in my head I'm just sick. When I said, can we stay friends, girl, I meant it. I didn't wanna stop, I didn't wanna end it. But the voice in my head that says I'm better off dead came straight back to me that day. I had to end it, I'm so sorry. If you leave me, babe, I won't die the same. No, I won't die the same. Oh, so if you leave me, babe, I'll be the one to blame. I'll be the one to blame. The day that we met, girl, I can never forget. It was the day that I felt like I had a clear head. Then 3 months gone, and so was the feeling. I still had love for you, but I was thinking of even not you, but this world. I wanna stop breathing. The pain hit me hard like a baby through teething. I prefer torture than I would be receiving or death. But I couldn't picture anyone breathing. I'm not as heartless as I seem. I'm only 17. I like to keep this side of me untouched and unseen. But it did have to come out eventually. And I'm so sorry that it did. It brings the worst in me. I'll have love for you forever. Love for you always. I'll cherish the memories of the good days. I fight tough in battles. I swear I will always have your back. I mean every single word I've said in this track. Smoke. If you leave me, babe, I won't die the same. Oh, I won't die the same. Oh, so if you leave me, babe, I'll be the one to blame. I'll be the one to blame.
Respected man with no handshake, swerving lanes with no handbrake. Ay, council house and violence. Ay, smoking on loud, so quiet. Might cop a couple diamonds just because I like it. Yeah, bless.
Done. Just a song that is different. I don't want to make just a strictly grime song or a strictly hip hop song. We can get my man influence. There'll be a lot of more folk people coming in, and you know the strong points in the record we'll just take out. Because a record is a record at the end of the day, a good record.
Yeah, man. And do you create your beats on a laptop or?
Yeah, I've got a Mac. Use Logic.
Oh right. So like next week we could have the laptop in there. We can literally placing
Yeah,
beats.
of course. I like Canterbury College, and I do music tech. So I'm literally in a room with producers. We all help each other out the way that you say.
Bring some students as well, man.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna try and get some of them in there.
Because if you want, we can probably connect your laptop to this PA in here, man. So we can literally get some proper beats running, and start to put some ideas together, man.
Oh yeah.
And then, and like for the last 3 weeks, we can literally create something like fresh, like So you know, cool. Let me see. We've got like about 25 minutes left. Should we do another exercise? Maybe look at the pieces that we've written. Pick out like the strongest parts of your piece, and then what we'll do, we'll probably should we put them all together? Yeah, be a nice little exercise. So the strongest parts of everybody's piece we'll put together as the definitive.
Go on, Daddy! Come on, This is young talent in Ramsgate. I want you to support it, but could you please stop talking at the back? It's very rude. As an artist, I don't like when people are talking while our musicians are working. It's really rude. So no talking, just listen for 5 minutes. You get me? 3 minutes and just hear. You get me? Go to your second song, Danny. Please stop talking though. Please ask for a drink, but stop talking.
Sorry, I'm just gonna hide it.
Understand how I feel. This is real. I'm going in for the kill. Can you see what's in me? When you get out of that, you will know and you will show all the times I let you go. I will make you dance inside of me. You can sing and dance, and you can dance to rhythm of my music. Dance to the beat of my sound, and you can dance to rhythm of my music. wanna go. Maybe you should get up and go. Come on, you want it, dance, dance. You want it, dance.
Noise for Danny. So over the 6 weeks, it's been a blessing to work with some of the youth from Ramsgate. It's my first time teaching, so I'm now a teacher. I'm now a qualified. I now have a job. The job centre won't see me now. I'm joking. But listen, there's 2 other rappers, yeah? But there's no sense teaching rap to rappers if you can't rap yourself. A lot of people teach, so I'm going to spit one quick freestyle. And I'm going to do it quickly though. It goes, rebirth, land on my feet first. Took time out of the game and done research. They could never fit me in a box. Something like David Blade. Tear off the locks out, see Joe Wiley. House gets busy. First time for the love, now for the Lizzie. That's when you know, you're living in the flow. Lyrical content, switching up flow. Every now and then I got a little proper know that I put them in your place if you're treading on my toe. I got my foot on the throttle. Before the green light says go. I did it, I done it. It's all for the city where the money don't sleep and the girls look pretty. Maximize price like a young P. Diddy, you with me. Where's my rappers, man? We're saying Muz first. Lads, give us a nice chat, man. Pick up this rapper here, he's sick. Yeah!
I think up his Muz in the building, yeah? Lined up fire tonight.
Yes! Check.
Come on, let's do this.
I know, so where the hell am I going to be?
Hungry from way back, I've done it from a team robber. I was raised with a heart to believe. Doing something right for the face coming clean. Setting these bright 8, 9 days soon. I was busy working, inspired from a beam. When I'm raised with the nose on my teeth. Vision of a winner with a dream on the team. Careful part, I was raised in the streets. Making money with my bros, man, I'm jealous. Peas up now, they wanna change the weather. I've done it on my own, you couldn't tell me I never. Done it for my bros and we done it for the better. Talk together, never grows under pressure. Never mix the roads and I work with pleasure. Now we're loving life, we ain't gotta catch a bird. So I watch your step when you're dealing with these nerds. Aye, DJ, get a reload in that still.
Yeah,
Reload that.
Reload. Come again then.
Come on.
And make some noise.
Come on. Hungry from way back, I done it from a teen brother. I was raised with a heart to believe. Doing something right, but the cat is coming keen. It's LEDs bright, 8, 9 that you see. These crops take time, I can't afford being lost. Even at my low, you can label me a boss. Got my own problems, I don't need yours on top. When I was at the spot, they wanna see me rock. But now I get a lot, and my shit hits the spot. Gotta set a crop, then my lines need to pop. Time's on the line, but still I couldn't stop. Fuck a fake and a J, can't relate to a snake. No handouts, but I was raised to take. I was on the back road, selling to the fiends. Weren't coming back home, out in the trees. Done it on my Jack Jones, out in the trees. Got this music ting, I'm at Mac on the beat. In the streets, you can get clocked by police. Packs pristine, won't get touched like a nun. Grind's on now, and the future's looking up. Couple years now, I got visions in the sun. My loud don't whisper, come and packs a punch. I was setting lights, no time for the munch. Gotta get it now, cause the time's ticking down. I ain't playing round, this ain't for the sound. Smoking on the louds, got my head up in the clouds. Gotta get pounds when my crop comes around. Making mommy proud, times when I was sober. Getting money, no luck, but I was social. Sleeping on the sofa, came up with a plan. Way up off the ground, now my money's looking sound. I'm coming with the loud, so you know what cat's down. Who told me fuck a 10, cut the crops, hit the ceiling, get caught with my crops, tell the cops I'll be healing, stuck up in this being which got those still wishing I could be rich. Your life's a real bitch when you're working day and night just to see everyone in it.
And action!
Alright. Hello everybody today, how you doing? I'm Taz. First, I just want to big up all the nurses that looked after me at the, when I was on the ward. I forgot what it was, man. 2 years ago, 2014, I broke my ankle. But there were some good Windrush nurses on there. Well, you know, they looked after me, you get me? So I had to big up you lot. And my name's Tez Monroe, aka Taz. And I'm an award-winning songwriter and producer and artist. And I was born in Yala, St. Thomas, Jamaica. From the age of 3, I travelled back and forth from Jamaica to Britain. Just like the Windrush nurses helped to grow, the NHS. And many like me helped to grow the multi-million-pound British music industry with our talent and our cultural influence. Grime, dancehall, reggae, hip-hop, and R&B all came from Jamaica. You didn't know that, did you? If Kool Herc never came from Jamaica to America, I don't see how there would have been no hip-hop or rap. And Kool Herc was a Jamaican. So we'll big up Kool Herc. First, I want to say I'm a descendant from sound systems such as Saxon and Coxsone. But it was music of, it was the music of Millie Small's My Boy Lollipop. You know that one there? My Boy Lollipop. Yeah, you know that. And in 1965, by the way, that's the date that came out. And Smiley Culture's Police Officer Don't Give Me Producer. You know that one as well. Police Officer Don't Give Me. That built massive bridges from Jamaica culture to Britain. And it did really, trust me, because I think if it wasn't for Millie Smalls, they wouldn't have Island Records. So it's her money made Bob Marley bust. So, yeah. Today I'm going to tell you a story about my journey to Britain and the journey my grandma took as part of the Windrush generation. They came to rebuild post-war Britain and help build the NHS. They and their descendants have become a vibrant part of British culture. I was 12 years old living in St. Thomas, Jamaica when I returned to Britain. I had previously spent time in Britain and Jamaica whilst my mother was studying a degree. Now it would be a permanent move. The night before leaving, my whole family had gathered together. I remember the meal we had: fried fish, Tasty's patty, sugar cane, most of which would be packed in my suitcase. I also got my brown Clark shoes, which I was so proud of. Yeah, you see Clark's desert boots, yeah. In Jamaica, they were like gods of shoes. They were the style and fashion within the reggae community. Other footwear that was on fire those days was Travel Fox, Patrick Cox, Ballet, and Fila. If you didn't have one of these, you could have never met a beautiful nurse. We love the nurses. That night I couldn't sleep with the anticipation England was going to be great. Things English people took for granted, I thought were amazing. McDonald's, electricity, without power cuts, and running water and hot water. But there was sadness, as I would not be able to pick my mangoes off the trees. My daddy was a farmer, so on my last day I said goodbye to my dog, my pig, and my goats, knowing by the time I came back they would be served as dinner. Except for the dogs. mother country was amazing. Many Jamaicans felt, and my grandma was no different. From 1949 to the late 60s, the Department of Health and the Ministry of Labour actively recruited from the Caribbean to make up the shortfall of doctors, nurses and support staff. The Windrush generation didn't think twice about leaving because Britain was just as much as home as Jamaica. I tell you about my journey, then my grandma will talk about the Windrush generation. We think of something like this. But a lot of Jamaicans like myself flew in. I left St. Thomas and went to Norman Manley Airport. The memory of passing through the towns, the music, the food, the goats, the sound system, the streets of Jamaica, the vibe, real vibe, you know, you can't even buy that. You can't even, I can think of it now, you can't buy the vibe, you know what I'm saying? When you're going to the airport from St. Thomas, you know, you go through Bull Bay, you got all the guys, they're serving sugar cane, they're serving, you know, mangoes, they're serving these jellies. You can buy them, obviously, who don't know about a jelly, like a jelly coconut. So you cut it, and you know what I'm saying, you put it to your head. And it was just a vibe of knowing that you're going there, and everybody's asking you, where you go? And you see the British on your British Airways. That time it was Air Jamaica, innit? We had Air Jamaica. Sorry, but Air Jamaica's gone. But yeah, it was a good vibe. I'll tell you about my journey when my grandma talked about the Windrush generation. So, even on the flight, it still felt like Jamaica. I remember how a woman next to me offered me porridge out of a flask. That was only Jamaica. You're only going to come from Jamaica, somebody's going to offer you porridge or curry goat. You alright, my son? I said, yeah, man, I'm good, man. She went, where you go back to England? I said, yeah, man, I'm going to England. So, where you going in London? And everybody's talking and the vibes. And most people, I don't know, but most people was going Brixton. Where I go, Brixton? Some Northwest and Hackney and Tottenham as well. But Brixton, everybody's going Brixton. So it's like a vibe, you know, sound system on the plane and everything. Yeah, good vibes, you know. Today the Windrush generation faces a new challenge, and it is one they never dreamed of. Deportation after years of living, working, voting, paying taxes and building a home in Britain. Not only are they worried for themselves, but they also worry for my generation. My grandma is worried that I could be deported. So how did this come about? That those who have given so much can be easily disposed of. Only Theresa May knows the answer to that question. So that's a big thing, obviously, you know. Many things are changing in Britain, especially the Windrush nurses. Like my grandma's deep, she told me some deep stories about the time when she came over. And I had to just listen to that, like even certain things, how they flew from Jamaica to Manchester, but they had to stop in New York. So my flight was easy, it was simple, but my grandma had to stop in New York for, I think it was 2 days. She had to stop in New York, and there was places they were sent, the conditions they were under was like a cell, and they all had to live in it together. My grandma done 12 years in the NHS, I'm remembering everything. So she done 12 years in the NHS. She's maternity nurse, yeah. So even coming over, and then Manchester, she didn't know that she would, there wouldn't be, it was cold, like obviously the whole place was a culture shock. The milkman, the British people putting their bread in newspaper. No, eating chips in the newspaper. You know what I'm saying? And the bread on the floor. That was a whole culture shock for her. And everything, and seeing the milkman go in the nice lady's house. She saw that and she was like, rah! You know, that's something that we're not kind of used to in Jamaica. But England's always cheeky like that. We love England. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, we're like the culture, the fashion, the weather, the food, the custom of wrapping fish and chips in the newspaper was all a part of the adventure. 1954 had been the end of rationing. New emerging youth cultures of teddy boys and rockers added to the post-war bustle. Britain was heading towards the swinging 60s. My grandma loved all the new music, and they celebrated with it. I think at that time she said she was doing the twist. Who remembers that? Yeah. They do that, or something like, do the mashed potato, do that, something like that. She said that to me anyway. I couldn't catch it. I was like, yeah, that wasn't me. You know, my grandma loved all the new music and they celebrated with it. Eventually, the music and food would cross over from Jamaica and merge into the culture. So, I mean, like, I've been all over the world, and I can say maybe Canada's got a slight, but Britain has got the most like integrational society. Like, everybody, cultures mix. You know, there's white people that know Jamaican culture. There's black. In fact, I got most uncles, or most of my uncles are white, and they cook Jamaican food better than anybody else. My aunties have trained them very well. I'm saying, so we're integrated society. You know, we got mixed race cousins, we got white uncles, so it's all love from all parts. Plus we got Polish family, we got, you know, Swedish family, we got everybody. So, you know, Britain is one of the most, you know, like, as I said, interracial, yeah, and I'm proud of that. That's good. And, you know, there's people that know reggae more than me that are not from Jamaica. You know, you've got bands like UB40. I was talking to them the other day before I did this. They gave me a little bit of education. So, you know, we pick up all them as well, but mostly as well, we pick up all the nurses and the medical staff, because I know it's hard to do that. And every time I come into a hospital, I feel the energy from the NHS. So I've got to big up that, because it's really good. You know, like, I feel that energy, so it's good that that happens. So when my grandma came in 1956, she was 18, and there was animosity and anti-immigrant feelings. To the British, the new arrivals were aliens from another world. Yeah, I think they both felt the same about each other. The first job she had was in a laundry, and it was a good job she didn't like. Or she might not have become a nurse. For 12 years, my grandma worked for the NHS in the maternity ward. When she first started, some people didn't want a black nurse looking after them. But gradually, things began to change, and there can be no doubt that many Caribbean nurses and doctors, support staff, the newly formed NHS would have never succeeded. So without, you know, some of the Jamaicans that came over from the Windrush generation, I don't think maybe the NHS probably would have succeeded, I reckon, anyway. So, but it's just different, obviously, paths, because I'm not from this medical background. I'm from a music background where we, you know, we've carried certain things, but I think similarities in both backgrounds, like Jamaicans have carried a lot of things from all around the world: food, culture, curry goat, oxtail, saltfish, ackee, you know, hard food, yam, potato. I wish I brought them here. I would have brought them here, man, just to show you. So, you know, we carried all these things, and yeah, that's my speech about, you know, Jamaica and the Windrush. Anybody want to ask me any questions? You know, that's my grandma and my granddad as well. You know? But my granddad was from St. Kitts. We used to call him the small island guy. Anybody want to ask me any questions, feel free. Yeah, oh yeah, big up my Africans as well, 100%. It's all one, man. Blessings. I'm going to Africa soon anyway, Nigeria, so yeah. And Ghana as well, yes, Ghana. I've got a lot of family in Ghana as well. Yeah. Sierra Leone, yeah. Zimbabwe, yeah.
Go through all these.